What if I told you? One company became so powerful that no king could afford to build it alone. It owned hundreds of ships, controlled armies, negotiated treaties, built colonies, and at one point was worth more than many countries. But here's the unbelievable part. That company didn't become rich because one billionaire funded it. Thousands of ordinary people did. And in the process, they accidentally created something that would change the global economy forever: the stock market. At the beginning of the 1600s, Europe had become obsessed with one thing: spices. Today, pepper sits quietly on your kitchen table. 400 years ago, it was worth a fortune. Nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon. These weren't just seasonings. They were luxury goods, sometimes valuable enough to be called black gold. There was only one problem. The spices everyone wanted grew thousands of miles away. Reaching them meant sailing across oceans no European had mastered for long. A single voyage could take 2 years. Storms, disease, pirates, shipwrecks. One expedition could make its investors unimaginably rich, or wipe them out completely. For years, merchants solved this problem the only way they knew how. A small group of wealthy investors would pool their money, finance a single voyage, and hope the ships returned safely. If they did, everyone celebrated. And if they didn't, the investment disappeared beneath the waves. It was an incredibly risky business. Every voyage started from scratch. Every expedition needed new investors. Every failure meant raising millions all over again. It wasn't sustainable. Something had to change. Then, in 1602, the Dutch Republic made a decision that would change financial history. Instead of funding one voyage at a time, it created one permanent company. A company so ambitious, it needed money from an entire nation. And solving that problem would give birth to something the world had never seen before. In 1602, Amsterdam was becoming one of the busiest trading cities on Earth. Ships arrived from every direction. Markets overflowed with goods. Fortunes were being made. But behind all that wealth, one problem still refused to disappear. Long-distance trade was simply too expensive and far too risky. At the time, several Dutch companies were competing against one another for the spice trade. Instead of working together, they drove up costs, competed for the same ships, and weakened each other in the process. The Dutch government realized something. If these companies stayed divided, everyone would lose. So the government did something extraordinary. It merged the competing companies into one giant enterprise, the Dutch East India Company, better known by its Dutch initials, the VOC. It wasn't just another trading company. It was unlike anything the world had seen before. The VOC could build ships, hire thousands of sailors, establish overseas trading posts, negotiate treaties, and even wage war when necessary. In many ways, it behaved almost like a country. But there was one enormous challenge. All of this required an unimaginable amount of money. No single merchant, no wealthy family, not even many kings, could comfortably finance an operation on this scale. The old system of funding one voyage at a time simply wouldn't work anymore. The VOC needed something completely different. It needed permanent capital, so the company made an offer that had never been attempted on this scale. Instead of asking a handful of wealthy investors, it invited the public to invest. Anyone with enough money could purchase a small ownership stake in the company, not just for one voyage, but for the business itself. This was a revolutionary idea, because for the first time, thousands of people could become part owners of one enormous enterprise. Imagine investing your savings. You hand over your money, and instead of receiving spices, you receive something much more interesting. A claim, a share, a tiny piece of ownership. If the company succeeded, you shared in its profits. If it failed, you shared the loss. Suddenly, ordinary investors had a chance to benefit from global trade without ever leaving Amsterdam. There was just one problem. Trading with Asia wasn't quick. Some voyages lasted years. Investors couldn't simply ask for their money back whenever they wanted. Once you invested, your money was tied up, waiting, hoping the ships returned safely. Then, someone had a simple idea. What if, instead of waiting years, you sold your ownership to someone else? You got your money back. The new investor took your place. Everyone benefited. It sounds obvious today, but at that moment, history quietly changed. Because people were no longer just investing in a company. They were trading ownership itself. Nobody planned to invent the stock market. There was no grand announcement, no ribbon cutting. Just thousands of ordinary people buying, selling, and discovering that ownership itself had become something valuable. Before long, this bustling corner of Amsterdam would evolve into the world's first modern stock market. And with it, a new financial era had begun. At first, people traded shares simply because they needed their money back. But it didn't take long for something unexpected to happen. Investors realized those pieces of paper could become more valuable before the ships even returned. And once people noticed prices could change, everything changed. Suddenly, news mattered, rumors mattered, even gossip mattered. If word spread that a fleet had returned safely, buyers rushed in. If someone whispered that pirates had attacked a convoy, fear spread just as quickly. Long before television, newspapers, or social media, information was already moving markets. Some investors believed prices would rise. Others believed they would fall. Some patiently held their investments for years. Others tried to profit from every swing in price. Sound familiar? It should, because the emotions driving today's markets, excitement, fear, greed, uncertainty, haven't changed much in 400 years. As trading became more active, investors grew even more creative. Some began making agreements to buy or sell shares in the future. Others found ways to profit if they believed prices would fall. Financial innovation was accelerating. Many of the ideas that shape modern markets have surprisingly deep historical roots. And when the company's ships returned safely, the rewards could be extraordinary. Exotic spices sold for enormous profits. Investors received dividends. Confidence grew. More people wanted to invest. More shares changed hands. The market became larger, more active, and more influential every year. The success of the Dutch East India Company did something few people expected. It proved that thousands of strangers could pool their money, own part of the same business, and finance projects that no individual could afford alone. That idea changed the scale of human ambition. Suddenly, building fleets, expanding global trade, and financing enormous enterprises became possible in entirely new ways. What began as informal trades between investors slowly evolved into organized markets. Buyers wanted reliable places to meet sellers. Prices became easier to compare. Records became more organized. Rules gradually developed. Without anyone fully realizing it, the foundations of the modern stock exchange were taking shape. Over the centuries, the idea spread across the world. New exchanges opened. More companies raised money from the public. Millions, and eventually billions of people became investors. The marketplace that began in 17th century Amsterdam became part of a truly global financial system. Today, buying a share can take less than a second. But behind every tap on your phone lies an idea born more than 400 years ago. An idea that transformed not just finance, but the way humanity funds innovation itself. Yet one question still remains. Why has this invention survived for centuries through wars, crashes, bubbles, and financial panics? The answer isn't found in the market. It's found in people. Today, we rarely stop to think about where enormous companies get their money. Building an airline, developing a life-saving medicine, launching satellites into space, or creating the next generation of technology all require vast amounts of capital, more than most individuals could ever provide alone. But 400 years ago, One simple idea changed that forever. Instead of asking one person to take all the risk, why not let thousands of people share it? Each person contributes a little. Together, they make the impossible possible. That is the true genius of the stock market. Not buying, not selling, but shared ownership. Think about it. In 1602, an investor in Amsterdam purchased ownership using ink, paper, and patience. Today, millions of people can become shareholders in seconds. The technology has changed beyond recognition, but the principle remains exactly the same. Over the centuries, stock markets helped finance some of humanity's greatest achievements. Railways connected continents, factories transformed industries, new medicines reached millions of people. Technologies that once sounded impossible became part of everyday life, not because one person paid for them, but because millions believed in an idea together. Every day, trillions of dollars move through stock markets around the world. Pension funds, retirement accounts, universities, businesses, families. Even people who never buy a single share are often connected to these markets in ways they don't realize. The invention that began in one Dutch city now touches nearly every economy on Earth. Remember the first investor we met? He wasn't buying spices. He wasn't buying ships. He was buying something far more powerful. A small piece of a much bigger dream. The stock market wasn't really invented to make people rich. It was invented to solve an impossible problem. How do you build something too expensive for any one person to build alone? The answer was ownership. The next time you hear the words, "The market is up" or "The market is down," remember, you're listening to the latest chapter of a story that began more than 4 centuries ago. A story about explorers, merchants, risk, ambition, and one revolutionary idea: that ordinary people, together, could finance extraordinary things. But there's one mystery we still haven't solved. If gold and silver were trusted for thousands of years, how did simple pieces of paper become money? The answer involves emperors, merchants, financial crises, and one of history's boldest economic experiments. And trust me, it's a story you won't want to miss. If you enjoyed this video, you're going to love what's coming next. Subscribe and join us as we reveal the forgotten stories behind the inventions, institutions, and ideas that shaped civilization. And before you go, tell me in the comments, if you could travel back in time, would you have invested in the Dutch East India Company? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.